Smooth 98.1 Lagos, Nigeria world. Here we are. It's gone past 7:30 for a Friday morning, and it is a Friday before Christmas. I'm Sope Martins here on Smooth Breakfast, and joining me for this half hour for a world of analysis as we deep dive into the news on the national fronts. I have got two analysts with me. Of course, the Friday regular, the one that puts a smile on my face, Ikemesit Effiong. You've got competition today. Good morning, Ikemesit. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm very well. How are you doing? I don't mind a little bit of competition. I mean, you get boring at times, so yeah, hopefully it brings it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Joseph, just a little taste of the Friday analysis. And joining us today, and I hope going further, is Joseph Obari. He's a lawyer based in Abuja, so I'm kind of loving technology these days and how it connects us across the states and, across cities and countries as well. So, and former journalist as well. Fantastic to have you on. I look forward to seeing what you've got for us. Good morning.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure being here. And in Ikemesit, there's no competition. There's a whole lot we can do together.
Hey, this is how it starts.
Let's try to be herself.
I don't mind that.
Wow, people, they've already started ganging up on me. How quickly the friendship formed. All right. And of course, I've got you. Join this conversation. It's going to be an interesting one. Send your WhatsApp messages of 20809 440 981. We are already streaming live up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Go over there, check out the live chat function, and you can leave your comments there. And you can also use Twitter. The hashtag for that is freshlypressed981. Okay, so I've got a number of stories that I'd love to get your take on, gentlemen. Let's start off with the 2023 budget. There's a lot going on in there. We've got trillions that we're going to have to find. And yeah, there are two stories about this. So I think I'm going to start off with you first and we'll get into it. So the first one comes in from The Punch. Nigerian government to sell 5 electricity companies to fund the 2023 budget. This is 6 months after it announced the restructuring of the power distribution companies and the privatization of 5 power projects. Well, the government says that it's planning to sell some of these generation companies in the first quarter of next year, the proceeds of which will go towards funding the 2023 budget, because I know we've spoken about the budget before and we've spoken about the deficit and how exactly we're going to plug this, and we know that the federal government had mentioned selling off assets. So here we are. Your take on it?
Yeah, and I remember saying at the time that while this might be a step in the right direction, it doesn't go far enough. First, not all the electricity companies are going to be sold. I think the original plan is for the Girigu power plant in Cross River and the Olorun sugar plant in State, right, to go under the knife first. Secondly, I have an interest concern around the timing. So this is supposed to happen within the first half of next year. Another thing which is happening within the quarter of next year. Another thing which is happening within the first quarter of next year is the elections, right? And these are assets that will go for billions of naira, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I struggle to see which private investor would want to make such a significant financial commitment, right, in Nigeria, while the political situation around who's going to succeed Buhari has not been determined. Technically, the elections end 2 weeks before the end of the first quarter of next year, so maybe a deal might be done within that time. But I think that the success of this particular strategy is directly tied to who is going to come out tops, right, during the elections, and how much comfort, right, Nigerians' choice at the ballot box gives, such an investor. So I think this timeline will most likely be pushed. Forward a bit more, and as the political situation, as certainty, right, emerges within the political situation, then you might begin to see some of these sales go through. There's also another question around, and this is one of the Ikemesit questions about doing business in Nigeria. If post-election a sale like this goes through, whether the next government is going to honor it, right? A few of these power assets were actually on the block for privatization, right? In, I believe it was 2006 or early 2007, right? And one of the first things that the Yar'Adua government did when it came into office was that it voided all of those sales. So that memory is still fresh in the mind of investors. Investors always have a very long memory. So for those reasons, for those two reasons alone, I struggle to see how this particular strategy will work in 2023, at least not until a new administration is sworn in.
All right, and we've got even questions of when exactly we're going to get this budget into play. With this next article that comes in from this day, 20.51 trillion naira 2023 budget suffers setback as National Assembly adjourns until next Wednesday. We were supposed to get this up for consideration in the Senate and the House of Representatives, but they're saying final consideration and passage of the budget has suffered a setback, and it's not their fault. We should be looking at the executive.
Yeah, so they basically said that the appropriation committees in both houses of the National Assembly found what they called irreconcilable figures, and they had to check in with the relevant government functionaries from the executive arm of government in order to reconcile the apparently irreconcilable that will be reconciled anyways. So as a result of that entire process, the draft budget proposal has finally worked its way through the appropriation committees, but it couldn't meet up with the deadline for the submission of all committee reports for the year. That's for bills that should be up for consideration and passage, which was supposed to be yesterday. But the Senate President has said that a special session will be called next Wednesday, right? Yeah, next Wednesday, to have the budget and other important bills passed. I mean, the budget is important, but the other bills are just important. And since we're here, I just want to highlight one or two of those. So we want to amend the Finance Act, right, which we just passed into law last year. And amongst other things, there's going to be a telecommunications levy, which in theory will bump up the prices of calls and data packages. We also want to adjust aspects of our criminal law in order to, or let me not say we, the National Assembly wants to adjust aspects of our criminal law.
I was going to ask you about your other job, Ikemesit.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to make the points as to why I have to make that distinction. Yeah, but really, the National Assembly also wants to tweak some of our technology management laws in order to more tightly regulate social media conversations. So those are two of the main bills which are making their way through the National Assembly, and they could in theory be passed before the end of the year, certainly before the elections, and not much noise is being made about it, and that's a real concern. And so I think for listeners, for those who are currently paying close attention to it, stuff that's cooking civil society and lawyers, and so many water groups have been in a blowing over past week, because all of these things apparently you have functionaries in the legislature quietly
right. Okay, we're missing out on some of what you're saying, but just in that sort of vein, I was just speaking an hour ago on Business Express about the very short notice that was given with regards to the public hearing of the National Information Technology Development Agency Act Amendment Bill that's taking place at 9 a.m. today. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And this is about 48 hours ago. So
it came out yesterday.
Yeah. So it's So it's wow. So behavior like that is really concerning, and it's absolutely calculated to ensure that as much transparency as possible is not brought into the process. And so, these are things that Nigerians, right, really need to be paying attention to. It might be smart for a lot of us, and we might be wrapping up the year, but our political mind has parents, and we should be a bit concerned.
Yes. Also, your eyes are on Christmas. Keep your eyes on the bills as well. All right. And Joseph, let's hear from you on this one. So something that we've been touching on Freshly Pressed quite a bit in recent times have been the attacks on INEC offices as we ramp up for the general elections I feel next year seems so far away in a couple of months. Let me put it that way. So, and INEC had come out earlier on and said, listen, with the spate of attacks, if they carry on this way, we might be seeing some problems with the elections. But now we've heard from the federal government, and this one comes in from The Nation. Criminals won't stop 2023 elections. That's what the federal government yesterday said. We heard from the Minister of Police Affairs, Muhammad Dinyadi, declaring that no matter the level of attacks on INEC facilities and other criminal activities, elections will be conducted in all parts of the country. It's coming a little bit of kind of contrary to what INEC has been stating. What would you make of that?
Well, the thing is, the statement is more of a moral booster for themselves, because you when you have this attack coming on, it's intended to instill fear and actually to intimidate INEC into believing that they will not be able to function in these places where the attacks are occurring. So when it comes up to say that, he is more or less just giving a boost to the confidence of the government that, well, no matter whatever happens, election will happen in those places. But it goes beyond that. It's not enough to say, oh yes, we can conduct elections wherever, no matter whatever happens. It is the fear that is instilled in the people from those attacks that is actually the crux of the matter. So yeah, you may be able to protect the facilities, the INEC offices themselves, the physical facilities, but will people turn out in those places on the day of election if they fear that their lives are at stake and that harm could be done to them? How does the government guarantee the people to accept that they will not be hurt if they come out to vote? So that's the matter. That's actually what matters. And that's why INEC itself is concerned. Because if people are intimidated into not wanting to participate in the election, and we look at what's happening in the East, people call for people to sit at home, right? And they don't go out on a Monday, no matter whatever assurance you give to them. So you got Governor Soludo, for example, says, oh, no, nothing is going to happen to you. Come out on every Monday and do your business. But there is already fear instilled in the people through violence and intimidation. So people just stay at home. So how can the government assure people like that nothing will happen to them and they will listen? And that's actually the heart of it all. When terrorists, this is like domestic terrorism, if so properly called. In the United States, they'll call some of these attacks domestic terrorism. So if the aim of every terrorist is to instill fear, to make you, intimidate you into believing that they've got the power to harm you. So this situation we have here is similar to that kind of situation where those who are doing this, perpetrating this crime, are actually out to send a message to the voters, to the electorate, and say, look, we are here and we're going to cause harm. So don't even try anything. Yeah, INEC can rebuild offices, they can deploy people. And there have been instances where officials sent for voter registration were shot. Yeah, in the East. So you first of all have to guarantee that those who are even going to participate in terms of officiate.
Joseph, you make a very good point. We were even speaking on an earlier edition of Freshly Pressed about a sit-at-home a victim of the sit-at-home order who had been injured and was talking about how bad things were. Anyway, we've got messages and then we'll be taking a quick break. So let's read some of your messages. This one in from Tajuddin from Alimosho says, when they're done selling all the government's assets, will they dip their hands into my account to fund the subsequent budgets? Well, you know what? There is such a thing as tax. And maybe if we start paying a little more tax and demanding a lot more accountability, we'll see a lot more impact. What do you think, Tajuddin? I'd look forward to your thoughts. And Austin from Satellite says, attack on INEC facilities. Criminals won't stop the 2023 elections. But who are the criminals? Who are the attackers? Austin asks. Now we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, more stories for you and for discussion right here on Freshly Pressed. Sorry, Joseph. Things got a little glitchy for a second, so I took over.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I noticed it kicked me out. I had to sign in.
So I just said, let's get back into it. We will be back in 30 seconds. And for YouTube, I'll be going over to you. Let me pull you up now and see what you have to say. Okay, Chijoke. Uju Chijoke says, I actually do believe that Nigeria can be made to work. Oh, having applied for my transfer of polling units online, I got my PVC yesterday. Fantastic. And I felt so.
I haven't gotten mine.
You haven't gotten yours?
Yes. But I'm happy for you, Chijoke.
Okay, we're back in. Smooth 98.1. Going over to YouTube, we've got this message in from Chijoke Oju, who says, I actually do believe now that Nigeria can be made to work. Having applied for my transfer of polling units online, I got my PVC yesterday and we're very happy for you. And I felt so elated, like I just won ₦1 billion. I love that this is happening for you. And the thing I would love to see happen now is where we don't need to go through this rigmarole of getting our PVCs, and we can automatically vote as citizens of the country who are of voting.
But I bet it still took him months to get his PVC.
It's very sure. And Okayemi Praise says that we at Freshly Pressed have been a very great part of his year. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. Messages up on WhatsApp. This one from Dan Okuda from Igondo says, I'm very skeptical if the Nigeria police has a capacity to deal decisively with troublemakers in an election that will be conducted simultaneously across the nation. That's Barrister Dan Okuda. Joseph, actually, you know what? Can you speak a little to that? Because that's something that we hear about as well. You talked about the fact that, what you're worried about from the attacks we've seen on the offices is really about how that would affect voter turnout. Yeah. And that's something that Dan has just talked about. We've seen an already stretched security forces, be it military, be it police, whatever you want to say. The word that we hear is undermanned and overstretched.
Yeah. I mean, the truth simply is that Nigeria is under-policed. I mean, you're talking about a police force of about less than 500 million for a country of over 200 million people. And a very, very large, vast landmass. So physical presence, government's physical presence is very important. An ability to deploy people to meet challenges swiftly. I mean, we've seen all of these things. People are under attack, they call, and then they don't get any response from the military or of the security forces or until much later, hours after, when the harm has been done. So it's one thing saying what people would love to hear and then being real practical on what the reality. So these questions they hang in the air. I mean, people have had very practical experiences of not being policed when they needed it. They didn't have the support they could have. So it's one thing saying, oh, well, sure, we can deal with anything. Yeah, just like say, just confidence boosting. But beyond that, what is going to happen on ground? We've had criminals taking out our security personnel, attacking soldiers, killing policemen at random, because it's like more or less like guerrilla warfare. Yeah, right. You don't really have, you don't know the person who is coming to attack you, so you don't really prepare. They just surprise you and attack. So a lot of intelligence gathering is needed. If government were talking about being capacity for intelligence gathering and effectively utilizing the intelligence they are getting, then we will be more reassured. Yeah, we'll be more reassured.
Okay, Joseph, I want to bring you in on this next one, seeing as we're even talking about the elections. So the next one that we'll take comes in from the Punch Past Electoral Offenses Commission Bill. That's what the National Human Rights Commission has called on the House of Representatives to do, just like has been done in the Senate. So the Commission's Executive Secretary, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, made the call in a statement yesterday, saying that this would enable the country to deal with cases of electoral violence, which has characterized previous elections. And well, hopefully, fingers crossed, not this election, but we'll see.
It's an irony that we need to persuade our lawmakers to make laws. It's so sad that, I mean, you have a situation where our elections are marred by violence, criminal activities, and so on. But it tells you a whole lot of stories. Who are those perpetrating this crime? So maybe it's self-serving if the politicians are not eager to want to create a commission that will try them, because they are actually the financiers of the crime, of the electoral crime. Either they are doing it themselves or they procure people to do it on their behalf. So if they are foot dragging, I'm not surprised that they are doing so, because they simply know that when the chiefs are down, it's either their boys or themselves that will be tried by the commission. Now, INEC is inundated with hundreds of, almost not thousands of cases, electoral cases they have to manage. If you know what goes on with at the tribunals, the number of legal activities they have to do, they even enlist the services of private lawyers to support them. But even then, they are stretched thin, because they are doing that, and they also have to organize the election itself and coordinate everything relating to that, the logistics and all that. So it's a lot for them to do. And if they rightly are calling for this, your Senate has done its own bit. Why is House of Reps foot dragging? So just make this law, create the commission.
Create the commission. Okay. Looks like we have slight technical difficulties, but you know what? First time's always teething problems, but it's all good. So what I'll do now is move the conversation over to you, Ikemesit, because this is one that I've been looking forward to having a conversation about. It comes in from the Punch newspaper. Reps probe illegal fintech and loan apps threatening debtors. We've got a few minutes to discuss this. So at plenary yesterday, the House of Representatives mandated its Committee on Banking and Currency, Financial Crimes and Telecommunications to investigate the alleged sharp practices and abuses by fintech and online mobile digital loan apps and companies in Nigeria. And they've got 4 weeks to report on this.
Yeah, basically the National Assembly is basically the House of Representatives saying that for most of these loan apps and companies, they are operated by individuals who operate outside of the regulatory framework. They either don't have licenses, or their licenses are expired, or they are run by people who are foreign nationals and don't have the necessary permits to operate in this environment. There are also concerns about their lack of commitment to data protection and data management regulations in Nigeria. It's actually for the actual story. and smile, because literally just yesterday I got an SMS about a friend of mine from one of those loan apps, talking about, the fact that they were due for a repayment, and they were behind it, and basically using the shame. We were basically outing people who are indebted to them, and it's actually, and I should state this clearly, it's actually illegal. That's not under Nigeria.
And yet, Ikemesit, it is very pervasive. It is everywhere.
It is very pervasive. It's very pervasive. It's prevalent. David Dean, I'm a journalist, did very groundbreaking investigation into understanding many of the companies, and I think this was the crux of the Ondine's reporting. Many of the companies are owned by one company, right? And it's owned by a Chinese national. I think Sokari Group is their name, right? And they not only operate here, they operate in Ghana and in Kenya. So this is clearly an African problem, but it's also a problem which speaks to the issue that Joseph highlighted earlier, which is the lack of state capacity to actually enforce and properly regulate, right, key aspects of our economy. So I really, really hope something comes out of this, because something absolutely has to be done about this. It's ascended to epidemic proportions. And there are people who have committed suicides, who have lost livelihoods, jobs, friendships, marriages, because of the really, really intense behavior. And intense is not the first word that came to my head, right, of this group. So hopefully
predatory.
This leads to
these are loan sharks.
Yeah.
They are
loan sharks in the sense of the word.
And this is why I'm so happy to have this story for us to discuss. Let's take a couple of messages in from you. Gilbert Musa from Festback says, the attack on INEC offices depicts the continuous growing level of insecurity in Nigeria. The question is, what happened after previous INEC attacks before now? Were investigations conducted? Were suspects arrested and prosecuted? And Tajuddin from Alimosho says, I should team up with Mr. C and he will vote for me. Okay, thank you. This one in, Peter from Festac says, the sponsors of electoral violence are caused by politicians who want political office by force against the will of the people. And apparently Peter from Festac knows who they are. Okay. Keep on sending your messages, but I will take, I want us to take a last story before the show comes to an end. And this one will come in from, and I'm glad that you're here for this, Joseph. So it comes in from the Punch newspaper. EFCC and ICPC competent to investigate state accounts. We've heard from foremost human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, on Thursday, noting that contrary to the opinions of another SAN, Olisa Agbakoba, that these anti-graft agencies are competent to investigate the accounts of state governments, because we know that Agbakoba had said, okay, let's take this to court and see who's supposed to be doing what. Joseph, what's your take on this?
Well, it's a matter of legal opinions, and well, as we always say, two lawyers often don't agree on one point of the law, but the courts are there. The courts are there to tell us what the interpretation of the law is. As far as the activities of EFCC is concerned, the law is very clear what they are supposed to do to investigate and to prosecute those who have enriched themselves illegally using. But then ICPC too has got its own role to play in investigation of corruption of public officers. So there is some bit of overlapping. But if you look at the way the two organizations are functioning, you see that the more aggressive organization is EFCC. And they've been out there, very aggressively pursuing corruption cases in almost every aspect of the national economy and the society at large. So the courts have made pronouncements and those pronouncements are binding on us. Are simply that EFCC has got the power to prosecute, they've got the power to investigate. That doesn't take away the power that is also given to ICPC. Now, sometimes these organizations clash because I'm sorry to say that possibly there are pecuniary gains. When state accounts are, why are they scrambling for it? When you investigate officers of state, usually there are gains, personal gains from the officers who are involved, be they EFCC, be they ICPC. People actually benefit. I mean, I know of personal cases where anytime these people need money, all they need to do is pinch whoever they are investigating, and he just is like an ATM. He vomits money from them.
Joseph, I wish we could continue because it got real interesting, but we have come to the end of the show. We've actually shot over, but it's all good because it's in the interest of furthering the national discourse. So let's actually continue the conversation. Joseph, are you by any chance on social media?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, where can we find you?
Either on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, where
By what handle?
Okay. Sorry, I'm a bit from the last century, so don't blame me. On Twitter, I'm at Joelobari, Joobari. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And Ikemesit, Judge Ike is where you find him. At Judge Ike. It's been an absolute pleasure having both of you on the show with me today. I feel like a new super group has been formed. People, watch out for Fridays from here on out. Have a wonderful day. And no Superman poses, Ikemesit. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Fresh.
It's been fun having you. I'm sorry for my epileptic network connection, but it was fun really being with you guys. Ikemesit, it was fun. Brilliant time. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a wonderful day. And that is
you too.
okay.